Hi everyone, my name is Joseph, and today I want to discuss Digimon Liberator, the comic portion, Episode 3, Part 2. So this portion continues exactly where Episode 3, Part 1 ends, with the conversation between Cool Boy, an administrator for Laconia, or excuse me, an administrator for the Liberator game, having a conversation with Ariza and Shoto. And the conversation they have is about the wild Digimon that are appearing, but also, oh, excuse me, it begins with the conversation about the illicit NPCs, not illicit, but the NPCs that are challenging players and they have not been challenged to begin with. Then after that, the conversation shifts on over to wild Digimon. The conversation was, I'll be frank, I don't think it revealed much to the audience that we were not already aware of, but it did help to set up some boundaries for the main characters. So actually, I'm going to read the quote that I put up for this portion right away, because this is the part that actually made me chuckle, and I felt like it just had not a lot to discuss, but again, it helps us to situate the characters. So this is a conversation again between Shoto, Arisa, and Cool Boy. Excuse me, everyone. That was my cat. She knocked something over. She's always having a tendency to do that these days. Again, I thank you for your patience, though. Continuing back to the quote. In other words, you don't have to be afraid of out of control NPCs as long as you play correctly within the game's parameters. Thump thump. There's a panel of Ariza. She's looking quite nervous because obviously at this point, both Shoto and Ariza have Terramon, and Shumon within their D decks. So continuing forward, we apologize for the delay in addressing this matter, and your understanding will be greatly appreciated. We understand. And it shows another panel of Shoto. He's looking calm and relaxed again, despite the fact that both of these individuals have wild Digimon in their D decks. And Shoto's response has Ariza shocked. She's looking at him in shock, surprise, and she states Shoto. At this point, it's clear that she's whispering this to Shoto because the speech bubble, instead of being concrete, the speech bubble is it's created by little lines creating a circle, little hyphens creating a circle. But she's going. I'm going to assume that means she's whispering. She shouts Shoto. Are you sure you don't want to think about it? We aren't only just involved with wild Digimon, we have them in our decks. And while she speaks, she's like this in the panel, again looking quite concerned. That's where you're wrong. NPCs react to wild Digimon, right? This is Shoto's response. If that's true, the Digimon in our decks aren't wild anymore. What could possibly go wrong? There's one more thing. So at this point, it's not Cool Boy talking. There's one more thing. Tamers shouldn't even think about catching wild Digimon and making friends with them. And at this point, the panel shows Shoto in the traditional. Everyone has seen anime in the past. It's the traditional, like, shocked. Oh my goodness, what have I done? I've already done this action that I'm being told not to do. Pose. He's essentially like this. I'm trying to mimic it, but if you guys read the comic, you know what I'm referring to. But obviously, he's looking quite shocked. So the reason why I like that panel is just because despite the fact that both Shoto and Ariza were told quite a vital aspect about these wild Digimon and the NPCs, I think it's really cool how Shoto's not too concerned. I do think he was being a bit too superficial with his statement to Ariza. Since we have caught them, they can't be wild Digimon at this point, right? From a superficial point of view, I could see how he could come to that conclusion. But if we don't live in a simple world, since we don't live in a simple world, typically these stories that are told to the audience, it's also not a quote-unquote simple world. I guess it depends on what genre and what age level material one is reading, right? But hopefully one is getting to what I'm referring to. Things are very rarely just that black and white, just that simple. And the fact that it's really been established that these Digimon, these wild Digimon have already existed before the creation of the Liberator game, before the creation of Laconia and everything like that, tells the audience that it's just not a simple matter of catching the Digimon. The reason why I say that, maybe I'm overthinking this, is because of code and coding and everything like that. I know that Digimon are similar to Pokemon, the idea that there's multiple monsters and one might want to catch them. But the difference between Pokemon and Digimon, and I think maybe again I'm overthinking this, but the fact that Digimon are I would argue that typically Digimon are considered to be natural creatures, a natural response to the human world. But they're not natural in the sense that they're organic. They're made up of coding well, I guess coding. I'm trying to think of a synonym for that. So yes, hopefully that makes sense. It's not just as simple as just knowing and catching, quote unquote, catching the Digimon because of the fact that because of the fact that the Digimon are created from code. I would argue that that interaction, that coding, is going to have a deeper a deeper integration into not just the Digimon themselves, but the Dojo world. So maybe that's why one can have a relationship with wild Digimon. But I'm sure the story will reveal that as we continue going forward. A small detail, but something that I really picked up on. I noticed with this episode that on Shoto's jacket, I'm pretty sure that's supposed to be a Digitama or a Digimon egg. There's a yellow circle. When the panel is far away from Shoto, the circle looks like it's kind of closed with little squiggly lines in the middle. But when the panel is closer to Shoto's character, there's actually a little bit, looks like a gap between those two half circles. Looks like a Digitama hatching. I think that's a little bit cool. So anyway, so yes, I like that quote because again, although I think Shoto was being a little bit too childish with his thinking, I think it's great that he's willing to, break the rules essentially. And I hope we come to discover why he's willing to do it. But I would argue that at this point, it's because he's curious. He's an individual who's already experienced what these wild Digimon had to offer, and he's already working with one. He's already forming a relationship with one. So why nip that at the bud? Why not just continue that relationship and see where it goes? So maybe we'll get more information about Shoto's choice to go against the rules. But I just like the characterization it sets up for Shoto. The fact that he does look shocked after he's told that forming a relationship should not be done at all by Cool Boy. He still sticks to his guns and he doesn't reveal that he's working with that Shoto is working with Terramon and that Arisa is working with Shumon. So besides that, I'll be frank, as I said already, so Cool Boy doesn't reveal much to the audience that we didn't already know, but there's one aspect that Cool Boy does share with the main characters, and that's the fact that Shoto and Arisa are not the first ones to experience these wild and these both the wild Digimon, but also the corrupted NPCs. When that conversation was being had, the panel showcased Yuki, Rinrar, and Violet on the panel. So I'm curious if when Cool Boy states that other individuals have experienced these defects, is he talking about other users, just regular users like Shoto and Arisa, or is he talking about other people who are working in official positions with Liberator and Laconia? Maybe I should review that. Maybe it is quite clear with the wording. The wording, I'm sure, was dictated, because if it was official positions, if it was official individuals, the wording I would say would just say that people have experienced it, but it was people like Shoto and Arisa, it would say users, right? So people versus users. It's a small distinction, but I would say if one states people, they're specifically talking about their own community, since Cool Boy is part of the upper echelon management, essentially behind the scenes. When he says people, he's referring to other people like him. If he had used the word user, I would associate that more with people like Shoto and Arisa. Hopefully that makes sense, especially because I'm using the word people still in my explanation. But yeah, if there's any questions about that, please do let me know. So as we continue going forward, as it turns out, Arisa has a place she needs to get to. Her alarm on her D-deck goes off, and her and Shoto need to take off, leaving Terramon and Shumon in the D-decks overnight. I was a bit concerned about this because they showed Terramon with the ellipses when Shoto and Arisa said, just stay in the D-decks, we'll be back. Shumon was like, okay, that's fine. But Terramon had ellipses again, period. Usually when that occurs, I'm used to, excuse me everyone, now my cat knocked over my tissue box. She's very much a tyrant this morning. She knocked over a pencil case, a plastic pencil case at the beginning of the video. Now she's knocking over my tissue box. Anyways, as always, I thank everyone for the patience. So as I was saying, oh no, I lost my train of thought. Oh no, I love my cat, but she does this to me sometimes. Oh yeah, that's right. I was expecting something to occur, but thankfully nothing bad happened. So I don't really much, nothing exciting occurring, except for the fact that we had Violet, also her nickname is Vi, spying on Shoto and Arisa. She obviously thinks something is up between those two. As it turns out, she finds out for herself Terramon and Shumon are having a little relationship, are hanging out with Shoto and Arisa. And what's cool about Violet is that, what I find intriguing about Violet, and I guess this goes back to her personality that episode 3 part 1 introduced, although she works behind the scenes, she's very much an individual who I would argue wants to quote-unquote collect them all. She wants to collect all the Digimon essentially, especially, correct me if I'm wrong, it seems like rare Digimon, unique Digimon too. So this episode actually ends with Violet challenging Arisa. Now before I continue with that little aspect, I'm not going to lie, Violet challenging Arisa caught me off guard. Violet saw both Terramon and Shumon, and I would say it was kind of obvious who those Digimon are partnered with. And yet, despite that, Violet choosing to battle Ariza to have ownership of Shumon, I guess I just find that surprising because if I was in this situation, I would definitely challenge Shoto instead because I would want Terramon. And then if I do win, after that, I would challenge Ariza and then sweep the house and then take her Digimon as well. But I thought that caught me off guard, and one could argue that's just for story's sake. I would argue that it's possible that she challenged Ariza because maybe she's wanting to get the one that looks least troublesome. In other words, Shumon does not look as intimidating as Terramon. So maybe Violet's plan is, let's see how these wild Digimon are, how they act within a battle. Once I have experience, then I'll move up to the more intimidating one. Ariza, you're first, but Shoto, better watch out. I'm coming for you after that. So yeah, so I thought, oh, excuse me, now my cat knocked over my laptop charger. And I'm knocking over the other item that she knocked over with my foot. So again, I thank you for your patience with all this noise. I'll pick it up when the video is over. So continuing forward, so again, Violet challenges Ariza, and that's how the episode ends. I've already made my comments about the fact that Ariza is being challenged to the Shoto. With that being out of the way, the fact that Ariza is now going to fight after Shoto has, I actually very much do it like that aspect. I know that this has always been done like with the original adventure. First it was Taichi with Agumon, and then after that I believe it was I think Yamato and Garurumon were episode 3, but correct me if I'm wrong, just for the sake of time, I'll say that was the next Digimon that we focused on. And after that, Sora and Biyomon, and then we went down the line, right? In this instance, we only have Shoto and Ariza, so it makes sense why Ariza would be challenged next. But I suppose the reason why I'm very much excited about this is because I feel like this cements her as a secondary protagonist, or a deuteraudress when there's two protagonists. The reason being because, again, when it came to Digimon Seekers, although we did see Leon fight, I would argue that story was very much a story about Eiji and him forming relationships with other people. This Digimon story is more akin to what we're used to, we being the audience, where it's not just one protagonist, it's multiple protagonists, there's a main cast, except in this instance it's two characters instead of an ensemble, right? With Adventure 1, I'm not going to do the math, but 6, 7 characters, Adventure 2, 4, 5 characters, Frontier, Tamers, 3 characters, Frontier, 4 characters, Savers, 3 characters. I'm talking about the main group that we follow, not the side characters. Digimon Ghost Game, 3 characters. Seekers, again, I would argue that one focused mostly on Eiji. Although he ended up working with people, he was working on his own as a lone wolf. And now Liberator with Ariza and Shoto. So I guess that's why I like this, because it's bringing back those feelings that I had when I watched Digimon Adventure, the anime. Digimon the anime, not Digimon Adventure specifically, but hopefully that makes sense. So this was episode 3, part 2. Although I would argue not much was revealed in terms of the story, I think enough was done to help the pacing of the story. I'm very much loving the characterization, and I'm very much looking forward to. At this point, I'll be frank with everyone. The overall plot is starting to take a backseat in my mind, and I'm really starting just to enjoy the character moments. There you go. That Shoto and Ariza are having between their interactions with both Digimon and other people. So I'm very much looking forward to the next episode. Be it if it's episode out, maybe it won't be episode 4. It's going to be episode 3, part 3, and it focuses just on Ariza and her battle with Violet. And if nothing gets revealed about the plot, I'll be totally okay with that, because so far what's being detailed in the story is a lot of characterization, a lot of character details, and a lot of I would argue in this chapter we didn't get too much world building. Let me quickly think. I guess besides the fact that Shoto and Ariza are not the only ones who experienced corrupted NPCs, and Digimon, but I would argue that it was kind of obvious because we were reading the novel portion. We have Yuki, and Renar. Just maybe this episode didn't really have too much world building, but the parts before that, the reason why this episode is able to focus on characterization is because the previous parts has done such a good job in setting up the setting up the context, setting up the world that Ariza and Shoto are engaging and interacting with. But yeah, so those are my thoughts for Digimon Liberator episode 3, part 2. The next chapter won't come out for another 2 weeks, so I believe it said July 11th. And so my question for everyone is, what are your thoughts for this episode? Did you find the lack of additional world building lacking? If you think I'm wrong about that, there was world building, please correct me on what aspect was built upon. If you are a little bit concerned about the pacing in terms of the overall plot? Are you being convinced like myself that this is a character-driven story? And of course, we'll eventually get to the overarching plot. And I like how the pan was actually sprinkled a little bit about that as well. When Cool Boy was speaking, not only did the panel showcase Yuki, Renar, and Violet, but I also noticed that there was also some additional characters who have not yet been introduced in the story. So little elements like that I think makes the audience excited for the overall plot. But again, that's in the background. At the forefront for right now are these characterization, these character moments, and I personally am very much enjoying them. I do like Shoto's character. I do like Arisa's character. I love how they also emphasize they're still talking about their personal lives. How Arisa, she's how Shoto states if an older gentleman such as Cool Boy makes Arisa a little bit nervous, university is going to be a bit more worse with professors who are a bit more intimidating, and some of them might be a bit more older as well. And I like how Arisa talks about she still has to do her entrance exams. And although they didn't go shopping because of her little obligation that she had, just those little details really help the relationship between Shoto and Arisa feel much more endearing. Not enduring, that sounds like much more endearing. There we go. Endering, not enduring, endearing. But yeah, again, thank you so much, everyone, for watching / listening. My question for everyone is, how do you feel about this episode? Are you fine with it focusing on characters rather than overall world? Rather focusing on characters rather than overall story progression? And yeah, and lastly, the additional question is, did you think I missed any world building with this episode? If I did, please do let me know. I'm always a fan of world building. Thank you so much for watching / listening, everyone. Have a great day and take care.